In the restless heartbeat of Evergreen Heights, a city that glittered like a dream but pulsed like exhaustion, rain was not weather, it was ritual. Every evening, silver streaks fell from the clouds like clockwork, washing over cracked sidewalks and smudged billboards, painting reflections on the roads that looked almost like memories. The neon signs hummed above food stalls, their flicker echoing the heartbeat of tired souls beneath them. In that buzzing, sleepless maze of light and noise lived Elena Ramirez, a woman who had forgotten what rest truly felt like. 34 years old, calm on the outside, breaking on the inside. She woke every morning before sunrise, her alarm slicing through dreams that never had the chance to finish. Coffee too bitter, toast always a little burnt, she didn't mind anymore. The rituals of repetition had replaced the rituals of joy. She'd dress in shades of beige and gray, pull her hair into a careful bun, and stand before the mirror long enough to feel disconnected from the reflection looking back. The woman she saw there, she looked responsible, capable, dependable. But she didn't look alive. Outside, Evergreen Heights throbbed with ambition. Cars honked impatiently, office towers gleamed with the promise of better tomorrows, and people moved with purpose. Yet inside apartment 9C of the Ridgeview Towers, time didn't move, it just lingered. Elena's home was spotless, quiet, and perfectly arranged. But peace had long left it. Her husband, Diego Alvarez, used to fill the place with laughter. Once, their life had color, lazy Sunday breakfasts, movie nights under blankets, long walks when rain turned to mist. In those early years, Diego had been her anchor. Charming, witty, and full of dreams, he was the man everyone liked instantly. He'd show up to her workplace with coffee, send her little texts like, "Just thinking of you," or dance with her in the kitchen when no music played. "You don't have to do everything, Lena," he'd say softly. "Let me take care of you." And she believed him. Back then, his words felt like comfort. But comfort can be deceiving when it slowly becomes control. One password at a time, one little "don't worry, I'll handle it" at a time. First the rent, then the bank accounts, then her salary. It all became ours, though she slowly realized ours really meant his. When bills went missing, when her card stopped working, when she asked small questions, Diego laughed gently. "You're just stressed, baby. You'd lose your head if I didn't keep track." His voice was smooth, his logic perfect. It was easier to believe him than to start a fight. And that's how love turned into silence. Her job at Nexitech, a marketing firm famous for overworking its employees and calling it passion, didn't help. Her cubicle sat beneath a buzzing fluorescent light that flickered like a dying star. Posters on the wall shouted, "Dream big and think different," hollow mantras in a place that drained people until they couldn't dream at all. Her boss, Mr. Klein, had a habit of praising her before he crushed her. "Elena, you're the most reliable person here," he'd say with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I can always count on you." Then he'd pile on another deadline, another campaign, another impossible task. She worked through lunch, through fatigue, through headaches that blurred the words on her screen. Everyone else had learned to say no. She hadn't, because somewhere deep down, she still believed that hard work would eventually be noticed, that kindness would be rewarded, that love, in work or marriage, was supposed to mean patience. But patience, she would learn, can also be a slow kind of erasure. Each night, she left the office long after the lights had dimmed. Walking through the near-empty parking lot, the rain whispering against her umbrella. She'd pause for a second, looking at the reflection of the city on the wet pavement. All those lights pretending to mean something. The radio in her car played soft old songs about promises and beginnings, the kind of music that reminded her of who she used to be. Sometimes, she'd lower the window just to feel the cold wind sting her skin, proof that she was still alive. Home was no longer comfort. It was performance. Diego had perfected the art of appearing normal. He'd be on the couch, scrolling through his phone, glass of whiskey in hand. He'd look up when she entered, smile faintly, and say, "Rough day?" She'd nod. He'd pour her a drink, tell her to relax. To anyone watching, they looked fine, a successful couple with a clean apartment and matching smiles. But the truth was quieter. They no longer talked, not really. Their conversations were logistics, not love. And every time she tried to reach for him, emotionally, physically, he slipped further away. His phone became his new companion. He guarded it like a secret. He changed passwords, silenced notifications. When she asked who he was talking to so often, he'd shrug.
Client.
You wouldn't understand. His tone had become soft but sharp, like silk over glass. She started meeting her best friend Carla every Saturday morning at Cup of Cloud Cafe, their little ritual since college. Carla was everything Elena wasn't anymore. Wild, outspoken, alive. You look like a ghost, Lena, she said one morning, watching her stir her coffee without drinking it. What's going on with you?
Elena smiled weakly.
Just tired. Carla leaned closer. You've been tired for 2 years. That's not normal. And Diego? Elena's hand froze on the cup.
He's fine.
We're fine. Carla raised an eyebrow. Fine is what people say before everything falls apart. The words hit like thunder, but Elena just smiled, changing the subject. Still, that sentence lingered in her mind.
Fine.
They were fine. She repeated it like a spell, as if saying it could make it true. But fine didn't explain why Diego's scent had changed, or why he started sleeping on the edge of the bed, or why there was a new cologne in the bathroom cabinet that wasn't his. Fine didn't explain why the rent payment bounced, even though she had transferred her salary, as always. When she asked him about it, he sighed, frustrated. Do you ever stop worrying? I said I'd handle it. And she did stop for a while. Because she didn't have the energy to fight. Her days became a blur of work emails and quiet dinners, muted TV shows and polite silences. Yet, something inside her had started to shift, not out of anger, but out of an ache for clarity. She began noticing the little things again. The way Diego's phone would light up with messages late at night, the way he turned away to read them, the faint smile that wasn't meant for her. One night, curiosity won over fear. While he showered, she reached for his phone. It was locked. He had never used a password before. That small change said everything. At work, things spiraled. The company was pushing for a new product launch, and Elena was tasked with leading the campaign. No team, no support, just her. Every hour felt like drowning. Her inbox overflowed, her pulse raced, and she could feel herself unraveling. Still, she stayed late, chasing perfection, terrified of being called a failure. One night, the janitor found her still typing at 1 a.m., eyes red, coffee cold. Go home, Miss Ramirez, he said kindly. She smiled faintly. Soon. But even she didn't believe it on the drive home. The city looked different, blurry, distant, almost cruel. The rain made the roads shimmer like mirrors, reflecting lives that seemed better than hers. She thought about how much she had given, to work, to love, to everything that had never given back. Her chest ached, not from sadness, but from emptiness. When she reached home, Diego was on another call. She stood at the door for a moment, listening. His tone was soft, affectionate, the kind reserved for someone he cared about deeply. Yeah, I'll see you soon, he said before hanging up. He turned, saw her, and smiled. Work call, he said, like always. She nodded, pretending to believe him. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay beside him, eyes fixed on the ceiling, the sound of rain echoing through the dark. Her mind replayed everything, the silences, the lies, the moments she ignored. She remembered their first apartment, how they'd painted the walls yellow because he said it looked like hope. She remembered dancing barefoot to their song. She remembered believing him when he said he'd never hurt her. Tears slipped down her cheeks quietly, so he wouldn't notice. And as the clock ticked past midnight, something inside her finally cracked, not in anger, but in understanding. She had spent years trying to fix what was breaking, not realizing she was breaking with it. She had mistaken control for care, endurance for love, silence for peace. And now, as the world outside blurred into rain, she whispered the words that had been buried for too long. I can't keep living like this. In the following days, she moved through life in slow motion. Work emails, commutes, polite smiles, all on autopilot. But inside, she was watching. listening, waiting. She began keeping small notes to herself, a whisper of rebellion. Passwords, account numbers, documents she once ignored. It wasn't about leaving yet. It was about remembering who she was before she forgot. One evening, she stood on her balcony as the city glowed beneath her, rivers of headlights, scattered laughter from the streets below, a sky too heavy to shine. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply. The air smelled like rain and endings. For the first time in years, she didn't feel afraid of the silence. It felt like truth. And maybe, she thought, that's where healing begins, not with escape, but with acknowledgement. She turned off her phone, sat in the quiet, and stared at the wall for a long time. Behind her, Diego called from the living room, asking if she'd seen his charger. She didn't answer. For once, she let the silence speak for her. The city continued to breathe, indifferent and alive, as inside one small apartment, a woman finally began to wake up from the dream she was never meant to live. The city never really slept, but some nights felt quieter than others, the kind of quiet that made you hear things you didn't want to. It had been weeks since Elena first felt something fracture inside her, but she had learned to wear calmness like armor. Every morning she dressed for work, fixed her hair, smiled politely at neighbors, and walked out like everything was fine. The world only saw the version she allowed, steady, composed, reliable. But inside, there was a storm that never stopped. Each drop of rain against her window at night seemed to whisper truths she wasn't ready to face. He's lying. You already know he's lying. At Nexatech, her life followed the same pattern. Long hours, muted praise, invisible effort. Yet something inside her had changed. She wasn't working for approval anymore. She was working to stay distracted. Her colleagues noticed the difference. She smiled less, spoke less, but her work became sharper, colder, more precise. Mr. Klein even told her one afternoon, "Whatever's fueling you lately, keep it up." She almost laughed. If only he knew that what fueled her now wasn't passion, it was survival. Her phone vibrated during lunch. A message from Diego. "Dinner at 8. Don't be late." No heart emoji.
No orders. Just command.
She stared at the screen for a long time, the words sinking like stones. There was a time when his messages had made her smile. Now they just felt like reminders of obedience. That evening, she arrived home early for once. The apartment smelled faintly of cologne, the expensive kind she couldn't afford and didn't recognize. Her first instinct was to rationalize it. Maybe he'd bought something new. Maybe it was from a client meeting. Maybe. But maybe had become her cage. She walked into the bedroom. The bed was freshly made, his shirts pressed, everything in place. Two in place. She noticed a new scarf on the dresser, silk, pale pink, definitely not hers. She froze. The air seemed to thicken. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked it up. A faint trace of perfume clung to the fabric, delicate and unfamiliar. She stood there for what felt like forever, the scarf dangling from her fingers, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. When the door finally clicked open, Diego stepped in, polished, smiling, as if he hadn't left a stranger's scent behind him. "You're home early," he said casually, dropping his keys. She watched him, searching for a crack in his expression. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I finished work sooner than expected." He nodded, loosening his tie, pouring himself a drink. The routine was seamless. Every gesture rehearsed. She wanted to hold up the scarf, ask the questions sitting on her tongue, but she didn't. Not yet. Instead, she set the scarf down, walked into the kitchen, and started chopping vegetables. Her hands moved mechanically. The sound of the knife against the cutting board felt louder than usual. "You're quiet," he said from the living room. "Everything okay?" She forced a smile that he couldn't see. "Just tired." Later, as they ate, Diego scrolled through his phone between bites. No eye contact, no small talk, just silence filled with unspoken things. When he finally looked up, he said, "You're spacing out lately. Work's getting to you again." She met his eyes. "Maybe," she said softly, "or maybe it's something else." His brow furrowed, just slightly. "Something else?" She smiled faintly. Never mind. He shrugged, uninterested, and went back to his screen. That night, when he fell asleep, Elena sat in the dim light of their bedroom, staring at the ceiling. The scarf lay folded beside her on the bed. She reached for her phone, opened the browser, and typed something she never thought she'd search. How to tell if your partner is cheating. The articles all said the same things: secretive behavior, phone turned away, emotional distance, defensiveness. She checked every box. The next morning, she left early, telling Diego she had an off-site meeting. Instead, she sat in her car outside a quiet cafe across from his office building. Her coffee went cold as she watched the door. At 10:47 a.m., Diego stepped out, not alone. A woman followed him, laughing at something he said. Young,
Confident.
the kind of woman who didn't look tired. They walked close, too close. When he reached out and brushed her arm, Elena's stomach dropped. The gesture was small, but it said everything. She didn't confront him that day. She didn't cry either. She just drove home, parked, and sat in silence for hours. Shock had a strange taste, metallic, heavy, almost calm. When Carla called that evening, Elena finally answered. "You sound hollow," Carla said immediately. "What happened?" For a moment, Elena couldn't speak. Then, in a whisper, "He's seeing someone." Carla cursed under her breath. "You sure?" "I saw them," Elena said simply. Silence followed. Then Carla's voice softer. "You deserve better, Lena. Don't let him break what's left of you."
Elena laughed bitterly.
What's left of me? I don't even know who that is anymore. Days passed. Diego acted normal, which only made it worse. He still smiled, still kissed her on the forehead before work, still said, "Love you," like it was muscle memory. But every touch felt hollow now. Every word pre-recorded. Elena played along. She cooked, cleaned, nodded, and smiled. But inside, she was watching every movement, every message, every lie point. One night, while he showered, she unlocked his laptop. He had started locking it weeks ago, but old habits die hard, and so do passwords. Lena, 2009. The year they met. Her name. The irony stung. The screen flickered to life. Dozens of emails, messages, reservations. Hotel names she didn't recognize.
Receipts.
Photos. And then, the one thing she wasn't ready for, an email thread titled, "Weekend Plan Red Heart." Her hands shook as she scrolled. The words blurred through tears she didn't remember starting to cry. "Can't wait to see you. She's leaving for her friend's place Saturday." The reply, "I'll bring your favorite wine."
Saturday.
That was tomorrow. She closed the laptop, breathing shallow, the room spinning. It was strange how betrayal didn't sound like a scream. It sounded like silence. Like the world had stopped just enough for you to feel every heartbeat, every breath, every truth you'd ignored. She wanted to break something, to throw the laptop, to yell, but nothing came out. Just stillness. When Diego came out of the shower, he smiled, water still dripping from his hair. "You okay? You look pale." She nodded faintly. "Just tired." He kissed her temple. "Get some rest." And he walked away, unaware that his lies had already started unraveling. That night, Elena didn't sleep. She sat by the window again, the rain painting streaks down the glass. The city outside seemed to pulse with secrets, as if every window held a story like hers. She watched until dawn, her heart oddly calm, because now she knew. And knowing was power. The next morning, she dressed carefully. A white shirt, jeans, her hair loose. Simple, unassuming. Diego was still half asleep when she kissed his cheek and said, "I'll be at Carla's for the weekend." He mumbled something and rolled over. She smiled faintly. For the first time in years, her smile was real, not because she was happy, but because she was done pretending. She didn't go to Carla's. She followed him. The hotel was on the west side, modern, discreet, the kind that promised privacy. She parked across the street, watching as Diego pulled up, checking his phone. A few minutes later, the woman appeared, same laughter, same perfume. They embraced, and the sight of it didn't break Elena the way she thought it would. It just confirmed what her soul already knew. She watched them disappear inside, and something inside her finally went quiet. No more wondering, no more denial, just truth. She drove aimlessly for hours after that, through rain, through traffic, through the parts of the city she hadn't visited in years. Eventually, she ended up by the waterfront, where the air smelled of salt and rust. She sat on a bench, watching the waves slam against the rocks. For the first time, she let herself cry, not because of Diego, but because of everything she'd lost trying to keep him. The version of herself that believed love meant sacrifice. The woman who gave up her voice for someone else's comfort. By evening, the tears had stopped. In their place was something steadier, resolve. She drove home, wiped her face, and started packing. Not everything, just what mattered. Clothes, her documents, her grandmother's ring, her laptop. When Diego came home later, smelling faintly of cologne and lies, she was sitting at the kitchen table, calm. "Hey," he said, feigning surprise. "You're back early." She looked up.
Yeah.
"I thought I'd come home." He smiled, oblivious.
Good.
"I missed you." She met his eyes. "No, you didn't." For the first time, he looked uneasy. "What's that supposed to mean?" She took a deep breath. "It means I know." Silence filled the room. He froze, mask slipping for a second before he recovered. "Know what?" "Don't insult me," she said softly. Her voice was steady, almost gentle. "I saw you. At the hotel." His jaw tightened. "You're being paranoid." She laughed once, a quiet, broken sound. "No, Diego. I was paranoid before. Now I'm certain." He sighed, exasperated, running a hand through his hair. "Look, it's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think," she cut in. "And the worst part, I don't even hate you for it. I just hate that I let it go on this long." For the first time in years, he didn't have words. He just stood there, caught between guilt and denial, while she stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Away," she said simply. "Somewhere I can remember what it feels like to be alive." He followed her to the doorway. "You can't just leave." She paused, looking back. "Watch me." The rain outside was steady again, falling like it always did, cleansing, endless. As she stepped out into the street, her shoes splashing through shallow puddles, she realized something profound. The same rain that once felt suffocating now felt like freedom. The city lights blurred through her tears, but her steps were sure. For the first time in years, she didn't feel tired. She didn't feel small. She didn't feel controlled. She felt awake. And as the night swallowed her footsteps, Evergreen Heights breathed around her, a city full of noise and chaos, but also new beginnings. Somewhere deep within that storm of neon and rain, Elena Ramirez was finally learning what it meant to belong to herself.